Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Star Stuff Podcast. My name is David,
My name is Zach.
and you are now watching slash listening or listening and or watching the official The Acolyte episodes 1 and 2 premiere episode of the Star Stuff Podcast. I know that's a mouthful, but it is Star Wars Day all over again.
We're here.
It feels like Star Wars Christmas
It
because
really does.
we don't get a lot of these days, it seems like, and it seems like it'll be spread out more and more in the future. And I think we're going to get Skeleton Crew towards the end of the year, but today is the day it finally is here. We're getting episodes 1 and 2 of The Acolyte in just under an hour. Zach, I want to get your thoughts, but before we do that, I want to thank all of our awesome supporters out there on Patreon, our top tier supporters, Hayden Hauser, Darth Ace 1, who is in the chat, Liam McCallion, Chris Simpson, Kevin Leininger, Dem McCaffrey, Drew Peters, Zach Netzel, who's on the podcast, Finner526, Maya Morris, and Maka Tautala. Thank you so much for awesome love and support. So, Zach, what is your hype level currently for these first 2 episodes of The Acolyte?
Boy, howdy. Well, I was at work this morning not thinking about too much besides the Acolyte, and I listened to your review that you posted, and that got me way more excited. So I'd say my excitement level went from like a 7 to a 9. I am very excited. I wanted to start out as cautiously optimistic because I don't know. I feel like that's kind of been engraved in my brain for Star Wars projects recently. I hate to say it, but I'm ready to go. Let's do this. Let's get them out there for the world to see.
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky enough to enter in the advanced screening last night as media at the Dolby Theater in Austin, and I really love the show. I really loved it a lot. If you haven't listened to the Out the Theater episode I did last night, I had to record. I wasn't planning on doing a recording. I did a recording. I talked about all my non-spoilery thoughts. I really loved it. You can see on the poster that's our background all the Jedi, and these 2 episodes don't disappoint with that. And we all know we're going to see Jedi. I really love the interaction. I love these characters, how distinct and kind of fine detail oriented they are. It's kind of hard to talk about it without spoiling a bit. I know we're all going to see it in about an hour or so. I think we're going to have more people join us on the stream here to talk about their thoughts and predictions. I've only seen the first 2 episodes. I saw those last night at a theater. I want to see them again. There's a lot of detail in there. There's characters in the background I'm probably going to want to examine in a couple of shots. But Zach, what are you looking forward to the most in these first 2 episodes?
I'm looking forward to some lightsaber action. I mean, a lot of people love Star Wars for the lightsabers, and based on the trailers, it seems like there's a lot of scenarios where there's multiple Jedi having multiple light. Well, not each Jedi having multiple, but there's multiple ignited lightsabers of different colors, and I'm excited to see that. Not necessarily these first couple episodes, but at least a couple choreographed lightsaber scenes. And I'm just guessing here that the scene we saw at the end of the Phantom Menace in the theaters in these first 2 episodes, don't need to confirm or need you to confirm or deny, David, but that's what I'm looking forward to the most. And kind of like what you were saying for me, I guess I listened to your review and you were talking about the hype level for the Jedi before the Empire for the Phantom Menace, and how this kind of feels like that all over again. And the Jedi are truly in the height of their power to some extent. And I'm just excited to see that being kind of the standard for the Jedi. They're just peacekeepers.
Yes, and I think you're going to get a good, healthy amount of that. I love how Leslie Headland kind of set up the Acolyte in that you don't have to have read any of the High Republic stuff, any of the comics, any of the novels to watch this show. I think there's High Republic connective tissue that we're all going to see, and probably if you did invest in reading and maybe listening on Audible to the books, you're going to get rewarded. But I mean, when you think back to the Jedi Council scene from the Phantom Menace, and you see like the gold leaf designs on the floor, I mean that's High Republic right there. That's High Republic design. that's kind of how all the older Jedi robes were kind of colored, and they had those insignias, and
Yeah.
we're gonna get to see that. This is 100 years before the Phantom Menace, so there's still a huge gap there that they could actually do High Republic stuff if the Acolyte is really well received. Colin brought up a great point to me. I called him after the screening, and he was like, "Why don't they just make the books into the live action stuff?" I don't know why Lucasfilm doesn't want to do that. I think
Yeah.
it would be great. That's a way to make more money, essentially, I would think, because they're double dipping into the same story. Um, we've talked about Claudia Gray's Lost Stars. That would make a fantastic film.
Oh yeah.
And I think everyone is in universal agreement that maybe should be the first film they do, because they do a lot of original trilogy stuff that bring in the old fans and the new fans and everyone in between.
Mm.
It's kind of a mystery, but the great thing about podcasting, when we suggest things on the podcast, a lot of the times they do come to fruition. They happen. They become a reality.
Someone's listening.
Someone at Lucasfilm, I think there is a job, a role at Lucasfilm where they have to listen to all the Star Wars podcasts. There's like 500 of them, but it used to be we had an old host for our podcast, and they could show us who is listening to us in the country. And there was a spot right in San Francisco near Lucasfilm where we had like a little heat map.
Man.
Oh my gosh, maybe they are listening to us. But anyways, tying into that, we had that Ahsoka episode number 5, that was shown in select cities across the country, and the closest showing to me was in Plano, Texas. So fortunately, I have family that lives there. My brother lives there, essentially. So I could have driven to his house, maybe stayed overnight. It's about a 5-hour drive for me, and watched it. But I think my wife at that point was sick. I think she might have had. I don't think I can say it on YouTube, but you know what it is.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to spread it to anyone, so I was like, well, I might have it too. I should just stay home. I stayed home. We did the pre-show for the episode, and of course, we also saw that Ahsoka episode with Hayden Christensen.
Oh,
epic episode.
So good.
They just re-celebrated that episode at an event where they had Dave Filoni, Rosario Dawson, Hayden Christensen, Natasha Liu Bordizzo, Doug Chang, and Kevin Kiner all up on stage. They aired it. I had no idea that this was happening. I probably wasn't going to be invited to it, but and I didn't know anything about it. And it just all of a sudden popped up on social media, and they kind of celebrated Ahsoka, and they had Dave talk a little bit about that. And that was awesome that they did that. There is a rumor, though, going around. I don't think it has a whole lot of weight to it, but when you think about it, it feels like Hayden Christensen is being brought back into Star Wars more and more, and his fan reception is epic. And of course, Lucasfilm sees that, and they want to capitalize, you would think. So there is a rumor out there. I've heard a couple places bring it up that there's a possibility for maybe something like, and this kind of goes back to what I said about not making the books into movies. They're not going to redo the Clone Wars in live action, but apparently there's some rumor out there that there's going to be possibly a Clone Wars live action series that I guess different adventures at a different, I guess, fill in the gaps of the Clone Wars. But I mean, how much of the Clone Wars can he fill in, though? I mean, that's the big question.
Well, how about, I guess I was listening to a YouTube video earlier today, and he broke it down. I can't remember his name, or I'd source him. But he said there were 52 episodes of the Clone Wars that were in early development, written and recorded and unaired. How cool would it be if they did some of those arcs in live action that, I don't know. I know Anakin, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka are involved in a good handful of them. Some of them not, but that would be really, really cool to see.
We all know Ewan McGregor's game to come back, and also it's kind of scary because, I mean, if you want to get Ariana Greenblatt back to play young Ahsoka, you need to hurry up and do this, because we all know from like Stranger Things, these kids grew up quick.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, getting back to the Acolyte, I mean, today got here quick, June 4th. It felt it doesn't feel too long ago when this thing was even announced, all the way
Yeah.
back in 2020 for that Investor Day call with Kathleen Kennedy. She announced it as a kind of a dark side view, a dark side led TV show. At that point in time, we had been told similar things by different studios about how a villain is going to lead a movie or a group of villains are going to lead a movie. That never really happens, so I really never figured that that would happen here, and
Yeah.
I don't think that's really the case here. I mean, there's a lot of Jedi stuff going on, as you can tell from the poster. Casting is terrific. Lee Jung Jae, Carrie Ann Moss, Daphne Keene, Charlie Barnett, Manny Jacinto, um, Amanda
Awesome.
Stenberg. I like I said last night in my review, their acting is on point, and casting was just terrific. I think they really nailed it down right there. Um, one of the things I wasn't able to focus on last night was the score. At
Hmm.
moments, there were a couple of times where you could kind of hear it, and it was kind of in the forefront. But I have heard other people say that they really love the score more so than most things that were presented to us in these first two episodes. But I got to watch it again. I got to listen to it. Um, for me personally, when I watch something, the gears in my head are spinning so fast that I'm concentrated on one thing, thinking about how that affects a theory or an opinion that I had, and then I kind of maybe miss dialogue or miss something on screen or don't listen to the music. So I'm very much looking forward to watching it again tonight on Disney Plus, which drops in about 45 minutes here. We'll let
Counting
everyone
down
know beforehand when it drops so you can check out the two episodes. And
for
we'll
sure.
do a post show after that, and then we can all kind of talk about spoilers and what we saw, all of our thoughts and opinions. But um, what do you think
It's
is going to
awesome.
happen in this first episode, Zach?
I think a lot of it is going to be tracking with what we know from the trailer, whether it's footage or some of the over-recorded dialogue. We kind of see the mystery aspect of the show come to light. I'd imagine the first episode ends close to the plot point of a Jedi getting killed, and the rest of the Jedi are like, "Oh my gosh, what's happening? What's going on?" And then the second episode will be them starting their journey on finding answers and crossing off suspects on their list. That's kind of my assumption on where it's going, and everything else is kind of I don't know. Maybe we'll see some starship or starfighter stuff. What do they call the starfighters that are powered by the lightsabers in the novels? Is there a special name for them, or were they just starfighters?
Yeah, well, they're called Jedi Vectors.
Vectors. Okay.
And
Yeah.
if you look at our background, if you look in the far left, you can kind of see some on the poster.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited to see how they incorporate that into live action. I know we've gotten a little bit of a couple blips in the trailer. I see some really cool space stuff. But I think traveling to different planets would be super cool. And I think it's going to show the story's perspective from different people. Like maybe Master Soul is here and he's brought in with the rest of the crew, and they're all coming from different spots to meet up to potentially discuss what the death of this Jedi means and how they can begin to figure out what the answers are. I'm curious to see if the Jedi, or if a Jedi dies, like they alluded to in the trailer, to start the mystery aspect of the show. If they point fingers at the Sith immediately, maybe they're like, oh, are there people from the Nihil still around? Could it be a Sith? Could it be a bounty hunter? Could it be another Jedi? I'm kind of curious to see who they point fingers at first, given that Sith haven't been around for such a long time at this time period.
Yeah, I'm very curious too to see if there's maybe a twist and then another twist and then a twist on top of that. Because when you hear talk about twists, usually, um, it's to me it feels like it's going to be something super elaborate,
Yeah.
possibly. Um, I mean, my guesses have been thinking about maybe Soul is the perpetrator.
Hmm.
Maybe he's the Sith acting as a Jedi. Maybe it's Indara, who's played by Carrie Ann Moss. Maybe she is the one. But
Yeah.
you can see clearly on the poster that Knights of Renish helmeted dark side figure with the teeth there. Um, don't know who that person is, who it could be.
Yeah.
I'm banking on that dark side user to be someone or something that we never been introduced to. It's sort of like
Hmm.
essentially the whole cast here. Um,
Yeah.
but that doesn't negate the possibility of us getting a dark side user, a Sith, maybe like a Plagueis or a Tenebris or something of that
Yeah.
nature.
Yeah.
And I was thinking a few weeks ago, what would I do in this kind of situation with this TV show, with what we've been presented so far? Maybe I think the acolyte. The consensus is Amanda Stenberg is the acolyte. She is the main character essentially. Maybe she's not the possible apprentice for like a master. Maybe she's the apprentice's apprentice,
Hmm.
and maybe there's a master that we don't know about, because we all know that um, the recruitment in Sith culture is constantly happening. So the
Yeah.
apprentice is always trying to overthrow the master, and they need an apprentice. And if you look back in Star Wars lore, Dooku tried to get Obi-Wan to join him, and of course, Dooku's master was Sidious, and so on and so on. Um, so that's my thinking about what we're about to see.
Yeah.
Leslie Headland, though, has stated that this series will not end in any type of big cliffhanger. We're going to get like a finite ending
Hmm.
to this. But of course, I mean, you don't necessarily have to have a cliffhanger to have a cliffhanger per se. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
they can add elements here and there, and we all know that Leslie Headland is a huge Star Wars fan. She's been quoted as reading the EU, doing reading High Republic stuff. So I'm really interested to see how in depth we get.
Yeah.
Um, so what are your thoughts on that, Zach?
Yeah. No. I think I'm excited to hear that it ends on not a cliffhanger. I was talking to my wife about this in the car on the way home from my softball game like 20 minutes ago. Kiadi Mundi, I believe, in the Phantom Menace says, "Oh, the Sith have been extinct for millennia or whatever." What if the ending revolves around some sort of plot, such as the Jedi, all involved in this show, who discover this potential Sith, die, and it's kind of kept a secret, and it's just kind of swept under the rug, and the Council is totally oblivious to it? I mean, it sounds a little out there. I figured if a bunch of Jedi just plooped, died, I'd have a feeling the council would be smart enough to kind of figure out that there's some sort of opposing force against theirs that is utilizing the dark side. It would almost seem a little too easy for them to not figure that out. But yeah, my faith is in Leslie Headland. I think she's gonna give us a story that we might not even be able to predict. Maybe there's nobody on the internet who's able to predict what we're going to see, and I don't know. I'm almost at the point where I just can't keep guessing anymore. I just gotta watch it. You know what I mean? And one of us has seen the first two episodes, and the other's me. So I'm out here just kind of like, you're like in your head, you're thinking what you know, and you're like, oh, Zach will like this, Zach might like that. But I'm ready to watch it and talk about it. We're counting down the minutes now, David. We're almost there.
How many minutes?
Boy, howdy. Let me do some math. 38.
38 minutes.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it played the Acolyte episodes 1 and 2 played really well on the big screen.
Did
I
they
was
cut the
impressed.
credits out and like play it all together, or did they play the credits for the episode and then go straight into the next one and play that whole thing?
So I'll tell you exactly what they did. They gave
Okay.
us the Mufasa trailer, and then they gave us the Inside Out trailer,
But no
and
Sonic 3
then
trailer? What's up with that?
I don't think Sonic is a Disney entity yet, but
Fair enough. Yet.
they showed the standard Disney Plus Star Wars fanfare with the different heads of different characters with the light and the blue
Yep.
shining on them.
Did they do the Disney Plus logo like uh
No, they
just
after
the
they
little
did
star?
that, they did the Lucasfilm logo, which
Okay.
was cool. Then they immediately led into the episode. Once that episode ended, they played the complete credits for that episode, and then all of a sudden they just went into the second episode without like the fanfare or anything.
And that had like the
It almost
different
seemed like an
floating
after
heads and
credit
stuff.
scene. Yeah.
Oh, sure. Yeah. What if we get to the point in going to the theater where like end credit scenes are like a whole episode of something of content? You know, how crazy would that be? That just put a weird thought in my head. You saying that
Yeah, that would be kind of cool. I would dig that. I would stay.
a secret runtime for a movie, and then they don't talk about the 30-minute extra credit scene or whatever.
Yeah. I don't know if you've had this thought before, but I've had this thought several times, and I had it again last night as I was waiting for the show into the theater in the hallway to be let in. Why don't they just show all these episodes at the theater? I mean, they could draw
Yeah.
people to the theater. They don't have to be advanced screenings. Just show them when they drop on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
You get people to the theater. You get to see it on big screen, loud. I saw it in Dolby. It was
Oh,
loud.
that'd be cool.
It was the picture was super sharp. They spent $180 million on the ACOLYTE. That's more than a lot of movies out there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you do see a lot of great stuff on the screen that they spent a lot of money on.
Yeah.
So that's the big question. Why don't they do that? It's so funny because the thing that happened to us when me, Colin, and James went to Chicago to go to the Rise of Skywalker panel happened to me last night too. So if you've been listening to the podcast, you know the story. But when we were all in Chicago in 2019, we sat in the arena where they had the Rise of Skywalker panel, and we got in there fairly early. And there was this couple that was in there before us, and they were sitting next to us where we sat in our seats that we picked. And we were all hyped up. Me, Colin, and James, we were like super hyped. We were gonna find out the name of the movie. We didn't know it yet, and we knew that we're gonna get all the stars on stage. So we were just kind of sitting there talking amongst each other, and the couple next to us, the guy turns to us and he goes, "Is this a big deal?" And me, Colin, and James just looked at each other like, did he just say that? It's like, why is this guy here?
Yeah.
And then we always like kind of bring that up, that couple that had like maybe no business really being there, because Colin kept on saying, I know people who would kill to be in the spot that we're in.
Yeah.
And it was wild because there were so many open seats, and some of those seats just didn't get filled. And we know there are people outside in the snow waiting. So last night, the same thing happened to me. I got in there as media. Not a whole lot of media showed up. So they told the people in the front rows that they could walk up and sit in the media seats so they don't have to sit so close.
Sweet.
So again, there's a couple that came up, and the guy turned to me and he goes, "What is this about?" And I'm like, "Why are you here, man?"
Yeah.
It's like, I don't understand. I didn't ask him that question, but I explained it to him. I basically told him this takes place 100 years before the Phantom Menace, at the height of the High Republic, which is a different era outside the Skywalker saga. And he's like, "Oh, okay." And that was it. And then the show started. So there's always one or two people like that in the spot that we like claw and try so hard to get to, and it's just random people, it seems like.
That makes me think of, have you seen the video when the opening crawl's about to start for The Force Awakens, and someone's got their flash on and someone's like, "Turn off the flash, you effing moron." And then it goes. Just imagine that line being replaced with, "Wait, is this a big deal?" Duh! And like it just starts going. That'd be kind of funny. Man, did you get some merch, some goodies last night, David?
Actually I got a poster right here.
That's sharp. Was that like cardstock or something?
Yeah, it's not like the traditional, like sometimes when they do like a premiere, they give you like a like very flimsy paper.
Yeah.
So I can actually show you. So here's the Mad Max poster that's very
Oh, nice.
flimsy and
Yeah.
compared to the yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Very cool.
So yeah, they actually had quite a few and they were really cool and they actually gave me a few. Um,
Nice.
so we're probably going to hand them out at some of the conventions we go to.
Sweet.
And I know Colin really wanted one of these, and I made sure I got him one. So yeah, it
Awesome.
was nice. I definitely got a shout out AMC last night. They really had a professional setup for this advanced screening for the Acolyte. They gave us free popcorn, a free drink. They had a person walking up and down. It felt like I was back at Celebration
Like an
when we.
usher?
I'm not sure if it was an usher, but it was someone in a suit just walking
Whoa.
up and down and looking at us to make sure that we weren't recording. Um,
Okay.
so yeah, they did that to us at the Obi-Wan premiere back in 2022 Anaheim. So that was interesting, but they did a few announcements and they were really cool. I don't think I've been to that nice of a premiere slash advanced screening before. Um, they let us know what was going to happen.
Yeah.
They told us that they allowed people to move seats to fill in the empty seats in the middle. They said that we could get free refills on our drinks, just not free refills on the popcorn. But there was popcorn left over, and they said, "Hey, we got about 12 bags left if you want them." So that
Yeah.
was nice of them. I thought that was pretty cool.
Snack
And
for the drive home.
yeah, and I think the guy that was sitting next to me, I think we also had. I wonder if I'm trying to think back who I had this conversation with, but we talked about the same thing that I just brought up, that they should maybe show these episodes in the theater and they should do this all the time for every single
Yeah.
episode. Maybe like make like a season pass or something. You pay like
Mm.
$50 and you can get it, or 60
Yeah.
bucks, whatever. And then you have like a drink and popcorn included or something. So you pay for everything
That'd be
um,
cool.
up front.
Yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't make sense that if you go to the theater and you don't help the theater and buy concessions, because that's how theaters make money, it's through the concessions. So, but if you do the upfront thing and you buy like a season pass with food included, that would kind of solve that problem. So
Yeah.
it's just a question of why they don't just show all these
Hmm.
episodes in the theater. It's kind of interesting that they don't do that, and especially right now, since the theaters are being affected by the strike. Because right now you would have all those films that would have been filming during the strikes that happened, and they would actually be coming out. And
Hmm.
this summer's really light. Next summer they say it's going to be jam packed with stuff. So that's just
Hmm.
kind of one thing that I wonder about. But like I said before on the podcast, we've said, hey, put these premieres, these special events in more theaters. They did that. I got 2 theaters really close to me showing this. I didn't have to drive all the way to Dallas. I had one in San Antonio, one in Austin. Um, Unfortunately, though, for Colin and everyone in Michigan, including you, Zach,
Chicago.
yeah, you guys didn't get a screening in Michigan. That's very surprising.
Yeah. It's a big
So,
bummer.
so yeah, like a huge chunk of our podcast lives in Michigan, and I
Yeah.
think, yeah, I think the closest screening to you guys was in Wisconsin, or was it Chicago?
I think it's Chicago.
Okay.
Maybe if we took the ferry to Wisconsin across Lake Michigan, it might have been shorter, but that's like actually no, it wouldn't have been because the ride on the ferry is a couple hours. But I remember when Ahsoka had that episode 5 screening in Chicago, I got 2 tickets and Colin and I were going to go, but I couldn't get work off that day because there's like an audit from out of town coming in and I had to be there. And I was bummed because episode 5 of Ahsoka is something I would have wanted to go to the theater for. And I would go see this too. Don't get me wrong. Maybe if they do a season finale or something at special screenings in Chicago, maybe I could talk to Colin or someone else by me and bounce down there. That'd be really cool. Do you think they would do another episode of this season aired in the theater, kind of like they did Ahsoka? They did a handful of random episodes that were, well, actually the first episode or 2 were aired in theaters like the Acolyte is now, and then they aired episode 5 Do you think they'll do something like that with the Acolyte, David?
If there's another special episode, I think that's a possibility. I think Colin is trying to contact me. Let me talk to him.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, absolutely. That was
Colin.
crazy.
Hey, what's up?
We're doing the pre-show right now. Where are you at?
You said 9 o'clock.
Oh,
we're live right now, Colin.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Called out on the air.
Okay. Okay, well, I guess I'm missing it.
Oh, my word. We got him.
That's a true Star Wars fan right there.
That's so funny.
All right, Colin, I'll talk to you later.
All right, talk to you later.
All right, bye.
He's out playing pickleball in his Chewbacca mask or something.
Possibly, yeah. So, everyone, we have a special guest here joining us live via satellite from his toy dungeon. It is Craig 5.
What's up, Craig?
Hello, everybody. Man, it took forever to log in. Like 562 tries it took me to get in. I don't know what happened. It was worse than Last Jedi.
But we got you. We're here now. We're ready to
You're
rip.
here now, Craig. So we have less than 30 minutes till the episode premieres. What are you thinking? What are your thoughts? What are your feelings, Craig?
I'm nervous. I'm nervous.
I get it.
I've got a bad feeling about this. Listen, I was so psyched about this show. And I know there's a lot of negativity about it. Everybody's talking about it's going to be woke and this and that. But, I try and stay objective. I'm a pretty positive Star Wars fan. The only thing I really hate is Last Jedi. Most other stuff I really like. But, I'm very vocal when it comes to that. But, I'm hearing such... I don't know. I don't want to say bad reviews already, but people are already talking so negatively about it. This episode 3, and they're comparing it to, people are saying this third episode is so bad that they're going to compare it to like as divisive as Last Jedi was. So now I'm a little bit worried about the show. You haven't heard that, David?
I actually heard episode 3 was really, really good.
That's what I heard too. Yeah,
I heard it was very interesting.
That's Cosmo.
So yeah, I mean, I've heard nothing but good things about the third episode. Of course, we're not going to get to see it until next week, but I mean, these first 2 episodes, I've seen them on the big screen. There's nothing divisive about them whatsoever. To me, it's like a dream come true. It took me all the way back 25 years ago when I was sitting in the theater in my hometown and I saw Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon turn to the camera, put down their hoods, and you saw 2 Jedis interact with each other.
Yeah.
Get a lot of that. A lot of
keep
Jedi
forgetting
interaction.
About the fact that people didn't have that. Like growing up with the prequels, I'm so used to that.
Yes, it was me, Zach. There was like 20 years where I got nothing.
That's crazy.
That, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I was so hyped for it. And then we had to wait another like 25 years. I know we got Attack of the Clones. We got to see all those Jedi fight in the big arena battle on Geonosis. But I mean, to see Jedi interact with lightsabers, full-blown Jedi in Coruscant at the Jedi Temple, younglings, I mean, the whole thing, man, it's on the screen. It's incredible.
I'm hearing a large part of the show is centered around Yaddle.
So I had some questions from people last night if Yoda or Yaddle appeared, and I don't know if I can even answer that because there were some points where there's a lot of characters on screen, man. So
zoom and enhance.
Maybe they're in the background walking around. I don't know.
You could probably walk in front of them pretty easy, so maybe they're hiding behind someone.
Yeah, because I think they're in a specific chamber where you wouldn't normally find. Well, I guess you would find Yoda in that specific spot, but he wasn't there teaching. So yeah, once the doors open and you see a bunch of characters. So that was.
It's good, man. I really am hoping it's good. I want to see how it plays out before I say anything about it. A lot of people are really negative about the shows so far, and there's some truth to some of the stuff people say, but it's also like, for me, like when I think about like the Obi-Wan show, yeah, there was a lot to it that I wasn't really that thrilled with, but I still love that fight with Vader and Obi-Wan.
Yeah,
that
was really good.
Book of Boba Fett, that story didn't make any sense to me, but I still loved Grogu and Luke. You know what I mean? So a lot of people focus on the stuff they don't like. That's fine, but as long as there's a couple episodes that I really, really enjoy, it makes it, cool for me.
Yeah. There's always stuff you can take away from new Star Wars stuff that they drop. Right after the screening, there was really nothing that I could say I just didn't like that at all, or that didn't work at all. After 24 hours, I can nitpick things. And in the parking lot, I was with Carl. So, of course, Carl had some things and some opinions, but he brought up some valid points, and we'll talk about it in the post show. So once the pre-show ends, we'll go watch the episodes, come back, do a post show, and talk about them specifically. And we can bring it up on the podcast and tell Lucasfilm what we think about it, and hopefully they can change things and kind of give us what we want. And they kind of made a promise to us, not in the not so distant past, that they were going to make a change, but they didn't make it in this series.
What change?
What's that?
What change?
You're gonna have to watch the episodes.
Oh, okay.
You're probably immediately gonna know what I'm talking about once you start watching. You're gonna be like, this would have been so much better.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure you'll get it, Craig. So yeah, to me, you have to remind yourself and know reality in the situation that we're in right now. We're watching a TV show, guys. It's a Star Wars TV show. Yeah. When I watched it at the theater, it felt like I was watching a TV show. It didn't feel necessarily like I was watching a movie, because it was a little more drawn out. There's a little bit more detail, but it flowed really well like a TV show, like a really good TV show, like someone that actually had like a seasoned career of running shows and directing TV. So you got to keep that in mind. But there's a lot of money on the screen, man. You can tell that they put a lot of money towards this, and reports are that's $180 million. So they didn't spare.
Maybe they should consider releasing it in the theater as well.
Yeah, we were just talking about that. Yeah.
Like, why not after? Why they don't have to do it now? But what if they do it for Christmas time? Release all the episodes back to back. Recoup some of that money by going to the theater and stuff like that.
So I think this just kind of came to me. There's a school of thought out there that eventually these studios like Disney are going to own their own chain of theaters. They're going to buy out all these theaters and basically absorb them like AMC and Regal, and have them become like a Disney theater and a Sony theater. Yeah. And I don't think they want to sign contracts right now where those theaters, they know the impending future, and they might put wording in those contracts that kind of prohibits them from doing certain things, and maybe them getting a cut in the future. I don't know. That's all I can come up with. So
interesting.
Well, you want to see them successful, because that will make them have a budget to do other things. You know what I mean? So if it's not successful,
right,
and people don't subscribe or whatnot, then we're going to see less of the content that we're hoping to see.
Right. It could possibly be just they're playing the long game here. I don't really know the specifics of the theaters and making deals like that, but it seems like theaters are pretty friendly with doing special events, like showing like MMA and boxing and concerts and stuff like that. And I mean, once you go to the theater, you're gonna buy concessions, and that's where they make their true money on right there. So but they did give us free concessions last night, which was kind of surprising.
Was that just for the media?
Drinks?
Popcorn and drinks, yeah.
Yeah, they did that also for the Ahsoka premiere episode.
Okay.
And I was able to go to that. That was awesome.
That's sweet.
Yeah, I got to see the episode 5 where Anakin is in it in the theater, so that was really cool.
I'm jealous. I almost did, but I couldn't get work off the next day because it's quite a hike for me in Michigan. I would have had to go to Chicago, but I would have done it if I
Yeah.
could have made it happen. But
Yeah, we talked about this before in the podcast, Craig. But have you heard any like rumblings about maybe a live action something with Hayden in it? Maybe Clone Wars.
I did see some stuff pop up here and there, but I try not to take those rumors. I mean, there's also rumors that Hayden's going to show up a lot in season 2 of Ahsoka.
I buy that. I totally buy that.
I'm not sure how I feel about him taking over the role of the father. I mean,
I don't know about that one.
Huh?
I don't know about that rumor.
That's the rumor. Yeah, that was one of the rumors I saw.
I could see more like World Between Worlds stuff and maybe like flashbacks that Ahsoka has. But him being the actual father, I mean, it does work out in like the story, but I don't see that happening. It just doesn't feel right to me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. It doesn't feel right either, but we'll see what happens with it, you know?
Yeah.
And then
Dave.
I heard the rumor that Balin was, or supposedly this is in the show, that on his gauntlet or whatever, it says like that he was hunting the Skywalker family. Chewbacca, it was like said Chewie and Leia and Han's name on his thing. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, see, I don't know if that was just like something that was thrown in there, like just randomly, or if that was actually part of the storyline.
But would Dave let that get in there randomly? Like, you know?
Well, Dave's got a lot of stuff to concentrate on. And just like we know about other stories from other past films where graphic designers put in certain things that weren't necessarily approved. And I mean, that's just kind of one of those things. I mean, does Dave know Urabesh from heart? You know, can he read everything? Possibly, probably. I don't know. It's Dave Filoni. So, but yeah, I did hear that in the past, and I know you sent me that question, but I don't know. I could go either way on that. I don't think he's really necessarily hunting Luke, Leia, and company, but that could maybe just be like something that came across his data retrieving device. So
yeah, maybe he's looking for. That's true. Maybe he's looking for Luke because he knew Anakin had a strong connection to the Force and wanted to see if there was some key he could provide. I don't know. We'll see.
It'll be interesting to see what they do with that character, if anything. Obviously, Rey was unbelievable in the show.
Yeah. I was thinking about that earlier today. Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of equate it to the Hebrew writing on Vader's chest plate, you know? I mean, it's just something that's there. I don't think it's like a big plot point or anything. So what are you thinking, Craig, about the possibilities for these 2 episodes coming up and beyond?
Well, I suspect they'll be pretty slow going. Usually stuff like this is fairly slow going. The vibe that I get is that this show is going to be similar to the episodes of Clone Wars where Ahsoka was found or on trial, and you know she went through all the trials, and you know that's when she walks away from the Jedi Order. That's the vibe that I'm getting, or because I know the director was really inspired by that, so that's what I'm kind of going in thinking that this is going to be like. At least the show overall, maybe not these first couple of episodes.
Yeah, I just wonder when exactly we're going to get certain things that we don't get in the first 2 episodes. I know I'm not going to spoil anything here, but have you seen any of the interviews, any of the junkets that the cast and crew did and Leslie Headland?
Little ones here and there, but you know, sometimes there's so many of those. And I try to not watch too much because then it's like it's spoil stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because she did say a couple of interesting things. She talked about I don't think it's really that much of a spoiler, but she had an idea for a specific type of lightsaber. And she took it to the designers for the lightsabers, and they told her, no, that's absolutely not going to work.
I did hear that, but I don't know
Yeah.
what the design is.
Right. I don't think anyone knows what the design is.
Oh,
And
okay.
it's not the light whip that Vernestra Rowe wields. And we already knew about that lightsaber and we've seen it in the TV spot.
Yeah.
But apparently there's some type of new lightsaber that we've never seen before. So
Mhm.
And you think back to the original trilogy, we got the single blade. Then the prequel trilogy, we got the double blade. And then the sequel trilogy, we got the 3 blades, Kylo Ren saber. So is
Mhm.
this going to be a 4-bladed monstrosity?
Mhm.
Huh.
I don't know. I don't know what to think. You know, all I really care about is a great story, you know? And it's very frustrating that it seems like Kathleen Kennedy is still thinking that men don't want female characters or strong female characters when I don't think that's the case at all. I think we just want really well written characters. I mean, I love Princess Leia and Ahsoka and Jyn Erso and Padme, you know?
Yeah.
And so I it's frustrating to see that 10 years later she still doesn't get why we were unhappy with stuff in like the sequel trilogy. We just want great characters, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, character storyline, those are the two most important things, I think, in a Star Wars film, TV. I mean, and there are specifics for a Star Wars film, TV show. I mean, there's iconic things that I think we all want to see. And the thing that frustrates me is that we don't get things that they can easily just make that the next project and they give it to us, kind of like the Old Republic, the Knights of the Old Republic. I mean, that's something that everyone wants to see. Everyone wants to see Darth Malgus, that we want to see Plagueis, we want to see Bane, we want to see Revan, we want to see Tenebris. I mean, there's specific characters and storylines that they would make a ton of money on because they've been around, and those are more some of the more popular stuff. Even Star Killer. I mean, they talked about canon in the beginning when Disney acquired Lucasfilm, but it seems like as time goes on, they're slowly kind of manipulating canon in a way, kind of breaking it and kind of like separating live action from like written from novels and comics.
Yeah.
So I mean, I wouldn't mind having like maybe just kind of like what DC does with Elseworlds, and just do like an Elseworld Star Killer story, and that's like the video game story brought to life. And Sam Witwer is still kind of young enough to play that part, I think. Maybe de-age him just a bit. I don't know. But I mean, you can make a lot of money there. There's a lot of Force Unleashed fans out there. A lot of them.
Yeah. They've been frustrating with things in a lot of ways. But you know, I guess that's going to happen with any project or, you know, series of projects that they're going to try new things and different things. And me personally, I like Star Wars the most when it feels a bit like a fairy tale. You know what I mean? Like A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back fit a bit more fairy tale-ish, you know, than some of the other stuff. You know, even like the prequels, you know, I mean, feel, you know, like the scenes with like Dagobah and Luke, and there's just a mystical kind of feeling that I don't think we're really getting captured in the newer stuff.
Yeah, I think that goes back to kind of getting the explanation of the Force and midichlorians and that whole thing, and finding out specifics, and not keeping the galaxy more or less a mystery. I think the only mysteries now that haven't been revealed to us are where's Yoda from, what's his species, what his backstory is. I don't know what else is still a big mystery to us. We're gonna get it. We're gonna get a movie where it's gonna be called. I think the working title now is Jedi Prime, which is the Mangold movie, which was previously the working title. I think was Dawn of the Jedi, where we see the first ever Force user, and it's gonna be like a Ten Commandments Ben Hur style movie, which sounds really cool, but you're not gonna have lightsabers, maybe until the end.
with the backpack.
Yeah, I mean,
And the
there's
cord.
not going to be the traditional like hallmarks and things we usually see in Star Wars for Star Wars fans to see, unless they do a thing where they cut the movie in half and he builds a Jedi Order, and then we see the introduction of lightsabers and the kyber crystals and all that stuff. So that might have to be just one big dramatic piece, and him just moving stuff with the Force, and that's it. So, but it is James Mangold. He's a brilliant director. I don't know what everyone thought of Dial of Destiny, but I mean, he's proven himself in the past.
I gotta rewatch that.
What was Dial of Oh, that was
The Last
Indy.
Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
I gotta rewatch it to give a full opinion, but I just watched Logan. He did Logan, didn't he?
Yeah, he did Logan.
Logan's great.
Logan's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Dial of Destiny I enjoyed it watching it in the theater one time, but would I put it on and watch it again? Probably not.
It's fair.
Yeah. I think it was really well made, but it didn't connect with me as much.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys. So we are about 5-ish minutes away from the premiere. I'll let everyone go and set up to watch it on Disney Plus here. Everyone watching, thank you to everyone in the chat. Darth Ace 1, you're awesome. You're a great supporter. We shout you out every podcast. So we'll reconvene here after everyone watches episodes.
I mean, 2 episodes.
2.
Yes, 1 and 2.
About an hour and a half from now.
Yeah, about that time. I want to say, about an hour and a half, 2 hours. So yeah, we'll do a post show and we'll talk about everything spoilery about episodes 1 and 2.
Sweet.
All right.
So,
well,
see you on the other side.
Good.
So, all right, for Zach, Craig, my name's David. May the Force be with you.
Always.
And also with you.